Chapter 4 The Golden Bloodbath. After the recovery of Drake, their journey continued. They were glad to finally find bits of sand and motivational change to the landscape. The sand increased as they kept walking. In the moment all they could see was sand, they knew they had set foot in Taraku. The desert had not seen any snow yet, and it was even warm. With their coats round their waists, they strolled through the desert, until they could see a built construction in the distance. They headed towards it until they found themselves at the entrance to a city. Iron gates within a sandstone wall blocked them from entering. "Hello," Drake spoke. "Ah, it's the Dragonians," a voice spoke back. "Come in, we were expecting you." The gate slowly opened. As they entered the city, they saw hundreds of sandstone houses and buildings reaching far into the distance. The entire city was enclosed in walls, which raised some questions with the four. "It's been forever since we've had Dragonian visitors." Someone came walking down the stairs, down from the wall. The man who was speaking was wearing clothes well fit for a warm environment. He had long brown hair combed backwards. "Welcome to Sandstone City. We received a letter from Calypso you would be coming, and why. It's an honor to meet you all. My name is Guaru. I am the mayor of this city." "You're the mayor, yet you stand guard?" Maya asked. "Being the mayor doesn't mean I can sit on my ass all day. Well, it does, but I prefer to do my part." "Are the people aware of the upcoming threat?" Drake asked. "Not exactly, no." "What? Why?" "Chaos, youngling. We've got enough of it as it is." "That is preposterous. You are looking for something carrying the initials CK, I hear. I'm afraid I have no clue what it stands for, but you are free to go house by house to see if anyone has an idea." "And we can't get any help with that?" "I'm afraid everyone under command is on duty. We have our hands full with something else at the moment." "What could be more important than the end of the world?" "Just keep your head up. Things can get dicey. Good luck." Guaru left. Well, what a welcome. The four started knocking on every door they could find, but it was a day for bad luck. The people who took the time to listen to them knew not what to say, and they couldn't even get anyone to help. Though this made sense, considering they couldn't decide whether or not they had to tell them why it was so important to find out more about CK. It took the entirety of the day to go by every house. Once they all regrouped, none could provide any positive or useful information. At least they were given a place to spend the night, and that way the day came to an end. Drake ran for his life. He kept jumping and dodging the lava as he was being chased. Two familiar characters were right on his tail. Arian, with John on his back. What were they doing there? Why were they chasing him? But Drake couldn't wonder why everything was happening. As he misstepped, he fell into the lava, but everything turned dark. Drake heard screaming, a woman's voice that sounded familiar to him. As he gained a view, he saw he was holding a girl's hand. He recognized the girl. She was from the dream he had a while ago. Though besides recognizing her from the dream, she seemed so familiar. What did she and Drake have in common? Who was she? She said something inaudible before she dissolved. It all turned dark again. Drake could feel the heat again. He was falling, closing in on a bed of lava. During the fall, he remembered what had happened before that. Why was Arian there, let alone John, who meant nothing to him? What reasons did they have for appearing before him? And the girl? Or did it all even have a reason to begin with? After all, when Drake hit the lava and woke up, it just turned out to be a collection of weird dreams. He did agree to one thing. He had to find out who that girl was. Why would someone he didn't know appear in his dreams twice? It was still nighttime. Drake wanted to go back to sleep, but that proved to be a little more difficult than he thought, as sudden screams kept him from sleeping, and managed to wake up the others in a heartbeat. Everyone outside started panicking. As the four were wide awake and looked out of the window, a golden creature dashed past in a very fast pace, leaving them with a question of what it was. The four got up and grabbed their weapons and headed outside. They couldn't see the creature anywhere, but the screams kept on going. They could hear crackling wood, sandstone rubble clashing, but not a sound made by the creature. They were scared, as they couldn't see what exactly was causing all that panic. But as they laid eyes on the street ahead, they could see the creature was positioned on the ground, showing itself within the light of a torch. It was a dragon. The scenery was a terrible one. The dragon was a relentless murderer, shredding the people he got a hold of into bits with his long jaws and sharp claws. The dragon was covered in golden scales, had a slender head, merciless eyes, and lethal teeth. It was a dragon without wings, but so fast that it seemed like it could fly. Drake couldn't bear to stand still and watch all those people die, so he went in for the attack. "Drake, no!" Juliet called out, knowing he'd be no match. When he came close, he was knocked away by the dragon's tail. This alerted the beast to his presence and started focusing on him. Drake first crashed into the walls of a house and had to try to ignore the pain caused by it. The dragon came at him and tried to attack with its claws, but missed when Drake managed to roll away in time. He rose up right away and backed off. The dragon started standing up on two legs and now seemed enormous. Guaru arrived at the scene all of a sudden. "Careful, his fire!" But Guaru couldn't finish his sentence as the dragon had opened its jaws and started spitting fire. Drake jumped in front and used his own body as a shield to protect the others from the flames. "Run!" he yelled. The fire was not just normal dragon's breath, but flames with a temperature Drake never before dealt with. It felt like he was a millimeter away from the center of the earth, and he could barely keep the heat from penetrating his clothes, or more importantly, his skin. The dragon was not running out of breath, and the flames were close to overpowering Drake. Someone had to do something. It was Haru who stepped in. He blew Drake away with a quick movement with his arms, controlling a gust of wind that not only pushed Drake away but also managed to extinguish the flames. Other creatures arrived at the scene and aided the fight. Ones the four had never seen before. Manticores. Their almost human-like heads were quite repulsive, and with their lion bodies and claws, they tried to hang onto the dragon. They were trying their very best to take down the beast. "Manticores," Drake said. "Why are they helping us?" "Why wouldn't they?" Guaru asked. Drake couldn't stop thinking that all the mythical creatures he knew of had to be exactly like how they were normally described. While manticores were usually portrayed as killers, in Teraku they were simply guardians and even pets. "They're doing it," Maya said. The dragon was being overwhelmed, and slowly the dozens of manticores managed to overpower it. "I wouldn't be so sure about that," Guaru said, speaking of experience. The manticores were pressing their claws deeply into the dragon's skin but had trouble penetrating its scales. Therefore, their scorpion tails were too fragile to pierce. "Mordu is much cleverer than this." And right as Guaru said that, the dragon broke free, leaving each manticore flying through the air. It roared loudly before it jumped into the air. When it was high enough, it dove down, straight through the ground. Like it was water, it simply dove underground and disappeared. Sand and sandstone flew through the air. The manticores recovered from the fall, and everything turned quiet. The silence was painful, but what came after was worse. The citizens started crying, screaming even, once they found their fallen loved ones. People were distressed, angry, scared. A majority of the houses were destroyed and the streets were torn apart. While Drake and the others were still trying to catch a breath and take in what had happened, the citizens knew it all too well. This sorrow was Teraku's curse. "How are you feeling, Drake?" Julia asked. "Better, thanks." Drake sat on a hospital bed with his left forearm wrapped in a bandage. Those flames were unlike I've ever faced before. Any second later and I would have been toast. "Thanks, Haru." "Don't mention it." Guaru entered the room. "I'm so sorry," he said as he approached Drake. "I should have warned you all. This monster has been terrorizing our city for many months now, appearing at most random occasions and leaving nothing but misery behind. How's your wound?" "It's fine." "I'm glad. This monster is more deadly than I've ever seen, probably worse than you four have ever seen too." The four shared a look, trying to hold in the chuckle and to hold in the words not even close. "It's a desert dragon, right?" Drake said. "Yeah, extreme speed, fire resistance, massive killer jaws and capable of moving underground. It doesn't have wings, but with such speed it doesn't need any. We called him Mordu, seeing as it appeared around the time the Mordor was defeated." Drake wasn't happy with what he was expecting Goro to say, and his expectations became true. "I regret to tell you, we need your help. We've heard so much about you, and you've faced monsters like these before. We might have an idea where Mordu is hiding. We are planning an attack, but we need you. We are no match for that beast." Drake started explaining why it wasn't wise to help. "We have about 5 days before even your desert will be covered in a bed of ice. We are already extremely behind on schedule, so we cannot afford to lose any more time. We'll greatly reward you, and do anything in our power to help you find this CK." "You really don't get it, do you?" "Drake," Julia interrupted him. "It's not like us to back away from this," she said. "Yeah, but all fun and all, but know that we'd be up against a dragon, and not just some dragon this time." "Since when is a dragon gonna get the best of you?" Maya said. "And couldn't you speak to them?" "I tried. Not with this one." "Why not?" "I don't know. It only knows rage, a language I cannot speak." "We can use that against it," Julia pointed out. "What shall it be?" It was quiet for a second. Right before Drake could shake his head and say no, Haru stepped in. "We're doing it, whether you like it or not. Grab your stuff and let's show this fella how it's done, shall we?" Everyone was surprised that they were supposed to listen to Haru instead, but it worked in favor of most. "Fine," Drake said. Let's do this quickly, but carefully. Thank you so much, Guaru said. Already our fighters. Let's meet up at the gate. Preparations had already been made and everyone knew what to do once the horn was blown. The entire city could hear the sound of the horn. Everyone who was willing to fight exited their houses or turned right on the streets and headed for the armory. There, they equipped themselves and followed up by heading to the gate. Everyone else looked out of their window, waving the soldiers goodbye. Some were hopeful, and some were worried out of their minds. Today we take down the calamity that is Mordu, Guaru spoke as soon as everyone had gathered at the gate. Let this foul beast kill and destroy no more. The people all cheered, and their hope was high. With the four on their side, they felt like they had a chance. Where was it you thought Mordu was hiding? Drake asked Guaru. Well, don't tell me. I'm sorry, we don't know. That was just to get you on board. Drake gave Guaru an angry look but managed to put his anger aside. We head for the hole. Mordu's tracks are our only lead, Drake said. Shortly after, they arrived at the tunnel Mordu had made. Unless we want to rely on my fire alone, we'll need some torches, Drake said as he noticed the darkness. Really? We're not savages. Here, Guaru said as he pressed the flashlight against Drake's chest. To be fair, they're from a million. Thanks, but you'll need it more, Drake replied as he gave it back. All the fighters were equipped with a flashlight as it turned out. It wasn't like the preparations were done poorly. Let's see what we got. Drake raised his arm and summoned a fireball. He threw it down the hole and immediately noticed that the tunnel made a turn shortly after the fireball hit the sand. When the fireball extinguished on impact, everything was dark again, but at least they could stop worrying about the way down. Here goes nothing, Drake said before he jumped in. One by one, the fighters entered the tunnel until the last one joined them. Good luck, Guaru shouted. He's not coming? Drake asked one of the fighters. Nope, busy doing mayor stuff, the fighter replied. Wonder what that could include, Drake murmured. It felt like hours, and maybe it was, but the tunnel didn't seem to end. After a while, the last battery died and the last flashlight gave up. Great, someone said. A silent roar was heard and everyone started panicking. Really? Why now? We're all gonna die. Dave, where are you? I'm here. Where? Right here. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. Where's Michelle? Michelle? I'm right here, Jake. I can't see you. Everyone, be quiet, Drake shouted. But it worked. Everyone froze. Drake eased everyone by summoning a flame. But no one was eased for very long. Joshua was gone. Who? Cat, where are you? Where's Tim? Tim? Everyone started panicking again, as a few were missing. Drake looked at his friends, and all four of them were very aware that they had been found. Not just that, the monster they were up against was clever enough to wait for all light to go out, and possibly snatch whoever it could with the time it had. Everyone, stop panicking, we'll find them, Drake said, though he was lying. They continued walking and could eventually see the end of the tunnel. They made it to the end until they could see a gigantic open space. Wait a second, it's the abandoned pyramid, one of the fighters pointed out. Why is it hollow? Julia asked. The beast must have done it, another fighter replied. The pyramid was completely emptied out, and some holes were letting in light, though the dragon was nowhere to be found. Drake, Haru, Julia, and Maya began climbing out of the tunnel, down to the ground a few meters below the exit. They looked around but didn't notice anything, though Drake could feel the presence of a dragon. He looked behind him and slightly up at the others getting ready to exit the tunnel. Drake realized the possibility of a certain catastrophic outcome, and to his regret, he was right. Get out of there, now! But he was too late. The ground shook when the dragon dropped from the ceiling and immediately filled the tunnel with fire. Drake looked up and saw the head of the dragon right above him. He stared at the tunnel but couldn't do anything. He was terrified. The people were being burnt alive, screaming from the pain. The others couldn't move either and just kept staring at the scenery with open eyes. When their screams stopped, the dragon stopped as well, but Drake was still unable to move. Before the dragon snatched him, Haru had thrown himself at Drake with a blast of air and managed to push him away in time. Get it together, man, he shouted. We have a mission. Suddenly, someone started yelling. As it turned out, one man had survived and had been able to follow Drake and the others before the tunnel went up in flames. The man was angry, for a good reason, and stormed towards Mordu. Maya called for Mordu's attention as a distraction, but in the meantime, the man had somehow gotten himself stuck with his foot in between the stumps of wheat that were growing on the floor. Oh, come on, he said, annoyed. Help! Julia quickly aided him by stretching out the stumps, freeing the man. But while Julia was doing this, Mordu grabbed his chance and attacked her. He opened his jaws and once again started spitting fire. Drake came to her rescue and blocked it, but everyone knew he couldn't block it for very long. Run! Drake shouted. You won't hold, Julia said. Go, Drake replied nonetheless. Julia ran away to give Drake some space. Haru came to help and joined Drake in blocking the fire. They managed to get Mordo to give up, and everyone had time to reposition. While Mordo roared with a painfully loud volume, everyone hid behind the weeds, rocks, and rubble. When Mordo stopped roaring, it was quiet. All they could hear was the dragon growling and breathing through its nose. Haru peeked and could see the dragon. Mordo was turning to one of the bigger boulders, but Maya had no idea Mordo was about to take a random guess. Maya, run! Haru shouted. Before Mordo's tail wrapped around the boulder and broke the entire thing in half, Maya managed to get away in time. She turned around and swayed her fan, from which 2 metal feathers ejected. The dragon reacted in time and protected itself with its tail, but to Maya's regret, the metal simply ricocheted on the dragon's scales. Split up, Drake shouted. We have to pierce its skin and we can buy ourselves more time if we attack from different sides. Everyone ran into different directions. Aim for its head. Julia started shooting arrows. Maya kept swaying her fan and Howard threw his boomerang, but the dragon was still too quick. With ease, it dodged and blocked everything that came his way. Drake, it's too fast, Julia pointed out. New plan. We have to get close, Drake explained. Everyone, attack! Drake told everyone to come closer. Therefore, they started running towards the dragon. On their way, they had to dodge the dragon's tail, its jaws, its fire, and its claws. But everyone was maneuvering at their best, and they managed to get close. Morty wasn't capable of paying attention to all 5 of them, and that way one of them managed to get close enough. The man whose name was unknown to the others had succeeded in stepping onto the tip of the dragon's tail, and before Mordo realized it, the man had already gotten onto its back. You will pay for what you have done, he told Mordo. He revealed a small item that changed its form in a mechanical way and became a trident. He stuck the trident in the dragon's back, and Mordo became furious, once again roaring louder than anyone could handle. Mordo tried to get him off, but the man held on with all his strength. As he managed to get back onto Mordo's back with both feet, he removed the trident and ran further. With my brother's trident, I will strike you down. The man ran as fast as he could, and right before he made the jump and could place the trident into Mordo's head, Mordo made a quick movement to snatch the man with its killer jaws. No! Maya screamed. But the man was a diehard. He screamed because of the pain caused by teeth piercing his body, but that didn't stop him. He stuck the trident into Mordo's head nonetheless, leaving Mordo shrieking like never before. It lost its balance and fell to the ground, with the man still in between its jaws. Mordo's final breath was spent when the Desert Dragon was finally defeated. Drake, Haru, Julia, and Maya ran towards Mordo's head and tried to get the man out. Quick thinking by Julia when she used the weeds to lift the head that was way too heavy, and by Haru who helped push it open with a screw jack of wind. Drake and Maya tried to get the man out. He was pierced in several places across his stomach and through his legs. The wounds were clearly fatal. The man screamed as he was dragged out of Mordo's mouth. Julia and Haru made the upper jaw drop again when the man was fully removed. It's finally over, the man said without ease. You're not going to claim all the honor, will you? We wouldn't dare, Maya replied saddened. This was a team effort. Well done. I think you are all destined for greatness. Please tell my brother I'm sorry. Tell my family I love them. We will, Drake said. We'll tell him what you did here today. Thank you. Before anyone could ask the man's name, it was too late. Just like Mordo spent its final breath, the man was all out too. An eye for an eye, or a life for a life. Whoever that man was, braver than any, saved his city, his people. Those who had died were avenged, with the cost of his own life. None of the 4 knew the man, but it did hurt. But thanks to him, the people were free again. Once again, the battle had been fought.